Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. All right, today by request, I put out on Instagram stories, what do you want the next podcast to be like? And I haven't talked about this in a while, so I thought this is very timely. So Isabella, this is for you, my dear. So I think so many of us deal with this, and I remember dealing with this many times of what if he comes back? What do I do? So it's a pretty generic question, but I think there are so many things that we can look at. So one, I want you to ask yourself, what was wrong before? Why did he leave? Or why did you leave? So what is the coming back representing? And so if you don't know, my story with my love is that he did come back as well, but it was 5 years later. However, we didn't really have a relationship prior to. We met, we went on a few dates, we felt the connection, but the timing was wrong. And there was I wasn't treated poorly. There wasn't any bad feelings between us at all. So when he came back, it was like a first start or a fresh start, really. I mean, it was kind of, our first beginning wasn't really a beginning. It was just kind of an introduction. And so when he came back, I thought, okay, well, let's see what you got. And we just started talking and texting and getting to know each other, catching up, and eventually it turned into a relationship. So on the other hand, I've had guys come back, and I want you to think about it like, okay, so let's think about this in stages. So is he coming back and he's somebody you met online that you've actually never met? And so now he's popping up again. And just like I've talked to you about in every other episode, how is he talking to you like an adult? Is he showing up as a man? Is he asking you questions about your life? Is he making plans to spend time with you? This is what serious guys do when they're ready for a relationship. So if he knew you in the past, he knows the kind of woman you are. And now he's coming back, but is he still coming back weak, or is he coming back strong? And it doesn't mean he was weak before, but I want you to think of it like, hey, I have a higher standard than I did before, even if it was last month. Like we can make huge growth changes in our mindset. We can make decisions of things we're no longer going to allow, things you're no longer available for. And when you set that bar and you move it higher, then does he meet that standard? So what are your expectations? I expect that you're not going to just text and text and text and text and text. And then I'm like, okay, what's going on? So did you come back, or did you come back and text? Did you come back and say, maybe we should hang out, but not really make a plan? Or did you come back and now you're ready to make plans? Did you come back and say, let's meet for dinner? Did you show up? What do you have going on in your life? So when he comes back, my first question is, what have you been doing with your time? Who are you? Who do you hang out with? What's important to you? What do you think about the the things that are going on in the world? How does this person think? Do I like this person? Do I want to hear what they think and how they feel about things? Because I will tell you, you guys can hear how strong of a woman I am. And if you listen to my podcast before Ian and I reconnected, I'm pretty bold. And I would think, is there a guy that can handle that? And then finally I just said, you know what? Screw that. I need a guy who can handle that. I need to be in this voice and get mad about stuff and not be scary. Well, guess what? I cannot scare him. And it's like, there's nothing I do where he's like, whoa. The only reason he gets like, okay, honey, calm down because it's time for bed, or like, don't get yourself all worked up, or you're going to get like, he knows when I'm like getting fired up where I need to preserve my energy. But there is that protector. And so when I was talking to him, it wasn't just about us connecting on a romantic level or on a compatibility level, but I also wanted that feeling of, this man will protect me. This man will make me feel safe. And so when we connected we actually connected a couple months before COVID happened, and he was constantly keeping me up to date with what was going on in New York, because at the time he was in Canada. So we were communicating long distance, and I felt so protected. He would watch every single new thing that would break, and it was like, okay, now there's a stay-at-home order, but it's okay, and make sure you get food, and I'm going to check this, I'm going to check that. And I felt all of a sudden this protector in my life. And it wasn't being done to say, look at me, look at what I'm doing. There was no self-serving energy about it. But of course, I was like looking for that. Like, okay, what is going on? And it's okay for a little, but I didn't tell him I was skeptical. I just didn't know, like, is this real? Like, what's happening right now? And I was also just super scared, as we all were, like, what is going on? And, it was just in New York City, for those of you that live there, or if you've watched all the movies, it's always like the end of the world in New York City. And I just remember standing in the grocery store for the first stay-at-home lockdown, and I thought the grocery store would be empty, but I'm standing in a perfectly fully stocked grocery store. There was actually nothing to be urgent about, and I was buying canned food and standing there by myself. No one was in the grocery store, and also no one was on the street, and it was just so scary, and I just cried because I was like, oh my God, I felt so alone, yet I didn't feel alone. And I so appreciated having him there. And so I started to allow myself to enjoy that and to let him be that protector. So I'm giving you that example of just something. It doesn't have to be that you would experience, but when he comes back, does he show up in a way that makes him, or it just depends. It depends on why he was gone and what you knew about him when he was gone. And then when he comes back, does he come back a man, or is he still a little boy? Does he come back and, okay, yeah, he's working and he's involved in his community and he cares about his family and his friends, or he is, committed to a project, or he has a mission, or he's starting something new, or he's taken up a hobby, or whatever it is. What is he doing with his time? What is important? And something Ian tries to hammer in my head, and I don't mention it enough, is what is his lifestyle? So if he comes back, that's really like, what have you been doing with your time? What is his lifestyle? And it's also important for you to look at your lifestyle and say, what's going on with mine? And most importantly, do your lifestyles match? Are you compatible in the way you live your lives? So if he comes back and he is lukewarm, or he is still talking to his ex, it's a no-go. And like I talked about in the previous episode, you're looking for the guy that it's like you're looking for the guy somewhat who has changed, right? Obviously, he left for a reason. Maybe he was interested. Maybe it was somebody else. It's hard to speak in all these generalities. Does he owe you an apology? Why did he come back? what prompted him to reach out. And if the coming back warrants a, hey, I didn't treat you well, or I was unfocused, or I wasn't responding like I should, and I'm sorry for that because I really was interested in you. Like somebody who ghosts you or inappropriately leaves the relationship. If they come back and they apologize and you decide to hear them out, then it's one thing to have the apology and the nice things to say, but it's also, what are you backing it up with? What are your intentions? And if all of a sudden those things become vague or there's still somebody else in the picture, this is when it is so difficult, but you have to be firm and let him go again. Say, I appreciate you coming back. It was great to chat with you, but I'm not interested. And I want you, because a lot of Gumball guys will be like, well, no, I don't want you to be like that. And they think that there's room to negotiate. So you have to really get firm with, thank you. I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in you. Thank you so much, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. So this isn't an invitation to reach out to me more. Because these guys come back and sometimes they're, he's like, he comes back in, but then it's like he wants you to still do the work. So he's kind of like, hi, I miss you. I've been thinking about you. And then here we kick in with, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about you too. And I was wondering if you would come back and blah, 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 blah. And then we start doing all that work and we start filling in. So I want you to take away that energy a little bit and say, okay, why is he here? What does it mean? What are his intentions? And there's also this feeling like, oh, am I enough now? Like, what is it that made you come back? And I also want you to be careful with the guy who's saying things like, I've been thinking, if he's been gone for a long time or even a few months, and then all of a sudden he comes back professing his love for you, or that you're the one of his dreams, and oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been thinking about you all this time, huge red flag. What I would bet happened there is that he was with somebody else. He broke up with them. He's desperate to have somebody in his life. These are the guys that can't be alone. And so now he's coming to you in this grand gesture so that you will get all excited and then he can be fueled with that intense attention. So let's look at the flavors of attention. When he comes back, is he ready to have sex right away? When he comes back, is he still picking fights? When he comes back, do you still feel like you have to entertain him? Is he the fussy baby? So is he still being the player? That's the arouse me guy. Is he still being the drama king? Is he blaming you? And yeah, well, I mean, I know that things didn't work out, but that's because, you were blah, blah, blah. If you hear, we're still blaming me again, it was still my fault, then those are your signals that things haven't changed. Because I can tell you, just being in a healthy relationship where when we argue, and we do argue, and by the way, arguing and debating and bickering is a good sign. Obviously, not when you're doing it in an unhealthy way, but both of us are very opinionated and we're very strong. And so when we disagree or we feel like it's like, no, I'm not saying that. No, you didn't hear me. Listen, I said this and this. Well, why can't it be this way? And there's this push-pull a little bit, but then there's never a disrespect or and there's not a need to be right. And instead, there's this huge desire on both of our parts to always be at peace with each other. So sometimes we get a little bickery or, I'm a girl. Like we get the PMS and my friend Shannon always says it like that. I love it. I get the PMS. I get the, we get moody or whatever. But then I even feel bad about that because he's so sweet that it's like, oh God, I was such a bitch. And I gotta like own it. Right. And he will own his stuff too. And we're able to communicate. So there's no like, well, you do X, Y, Z, all that blaming and nitpicking and the drama. There's nobody instigating drama in a healthy relationship. So if I were to see a guy come back like that and then all of a sudden he's being Mr. I'm not going to be accountable and I'm still going to play the blame game, that would tell me, oh, okay, you're still not ready. So is he Mr. Sex? Is he Mr. Drama King? Is he's here and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yet when I'm like, oh yeah, it's so good to talk to you. So I've had this really great opportunity at work. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, that's great. And he's, looking at his phone. Bye. If you haven't seen me in weeks or months, and the second I talk about myself, you're looking at your phone and you're not interested, this is a huge red flag. And these are the things that I would overlook, I would allow to happen, because I'd be so excited to see him again. I would feel so, oh my gosh, he's back. He's into me. He was thinking about me. It did mean something. Can I tell you that only one time in my life he came back and it did mean something? Once. Do you know how many times he came back and it didn't mean something? I don't even know. At least a couple dozen. Enough to where my sister and I cue the song Unforgettable in Every Way, because so many dudes would come back. I can't even tell you how many times we've sent that meme to each other, or just the words unforgettable, because we would send each other a screenshot. Here he is. And I mean, dudes will come back after some time. It's like, dang, it's been 6 months or it's been a year. Like, where have you been? Like, it's bizarre. But the Gumball Guy almost always comes back in some way. And then we sit there and we're like, huh. So I thought of this visual last night in the car. We were driving back from the gym. And I was telling Ian, I said, when it comes to a guy, let's say he wants the pity me gumballs. He wants somebody to feel sorry for him and lift him up and, be his cheerleader. But I was talking to a client who got sick of doing that. She was just like, she had done it so much that it just became exhausting. And when she got exhausted doing it, he felt like the connection was gone. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, I just got this visual of, she had this plate full of blue gumballs and he was like, oh yeah, this is the plate I want. And as soon as that plate dwindled down and then she just didn't feel inspired to give him more, then he was like, oh, he looks at the plate, it's empty. I guess the connection's gone. Where's the connection? It's with the gumballs. It's not with the person. So then he can go along to another girl and then she's giving them to him and now he has a connection with her? Not really. Just whoever is feeding him the attention that he wants. So there's 8 different flavors, and eight. I want you to think of the flavors of the gumballs as behaviors. So sometimes the pity me guy can also be the idolize me guy. So he can lead with pity me, but he's got a lot of idolize me. So I want you to think of, in each flavor, there could be 100 different behaviors behind it. So pity when the guy's like, I want you to feel sorry for me, encourage me, lift me up, be my cheerleader. So pitying someone can look different depending on the type of guy. If he wants to be idolized, he wants to be thought of as like, oh my gosh, he's the one that knows everything. He's right about everything. And so if the guy comes back, you can look and be like, maybe it's the guy that you were like, oh, I don't know. I wasn't thinking about gumballs when I talked to him last. So yeah, okay. If I meet him for dinner or we talk on the phone, I'm going to listen for, oh, okay. So like compete for me, green gumball. If he's talking to you and then it's like, he's still talking about the other girl. then what? It's like, yeah, I can just tell you, and I want you to just channel my energy if you can. Like, oh, you got another girl? Oh boy, that's super boring for me. So, yeah, I hope that works out for you, but I don't have time to talk to you if you're talking to another girl, or like, I'm not going to be interested. And you could actually say, you know what, Joe, or whatever, Joe, I hear you, and, really appreciate you've come back, but you just still got a lot of problems, and I'm kind of looking for somebody who's got their life in order and, kind of got all that stuff cleaned up. You sound like you still got a lot of stuff that's, hanging out. And, I just want somebody who's, on their game and ready to go and still doesn't have, a lot of clutter laying around. And that is not a gumball. They'll be like, geez. And you'll probably get well, that's rude. And depending on the kind of guy, if you want to be rude, you can. Some of these guys deserve some rude comments. Like, who do you think you are? You can just come back in my life and be like, oh my God, I was thinking about you, but I'm still talking to this girl and I don't know what to do with her. It's like, okay, then why did you reach out to me? To talk about some girl? Bye-bye. Go talk about some girl to somebody else. But you're not gonna interrupt the beautiful energy in my life. Because let me tell you, like, when I got to my happiest single point, I had this gorgeous apartment in New York City. I was buying myself flowers. I was ballroom dancing. I was creating content and connecting with friends and going to watch book signings and meeting different authors and connecting in different networking groups, and a guy that would reconnect with me to come talk about some other chick. It wouldn't have fit into the energy and the frequency that my life was where it was. So if a guy comes back, it's like, you better be vibrating at that high frequency. I do think that we do have frequencies that we're plugged into, because it's when you feel like you can't relate to people you used to be able to relate to. It's like right now I'm back in Nebraska, my home state. I don't really relate to a lot of people here. I came back here because it was COVID, and I miss New York so much, but it's not the right fit right now. So we'll figure out where we're going to go. I have no idea where that is, but I do fit with the love of my life. So when you're synced up with your main partner, it does make wherever you're living kind of, much less of a critical component. Yet we will make that decision. But what I'm saying is, when you're at a high frequency and somebody, even a non-romantic person, comes into your life, you're going to be able to make a quicker judgment call. Does this person fit in? So if he comes back in your life and he's got a bunch of problems and he's Mr. Sad and he's depressed and, I just really miss you and things have just been so hard and you were always so great. Yeah, you were great because you're a caring, loving, giving person. You're a caregiver. You deserve to be cared for. Do you know how amazing it is to be cared for? I mean, I just marvel at Ian will carry every single thing into the gym, my bags, my mat to put in the sauna, the towel, the waters, open the doors. And it's just like, he'll make sure I'm eating when I'm riding because I'll go without food. He'll make sure I have fresh lemon water. I mean, he's just always thinking of stuff. And then I think of him like making sure his laundry is done, or, just like, he's not the most organized person. So I work really hard to keep him organized and keep him on track. So it's like, there's all these little things that we do for each other that are just little labors of love. And he's caring for me and I'm caring for him. And there's all these strengths where I'm weak and he's weak where I'm strong. And I think so many times, wow, this is what it's like to have this reciprocated. Gumball guys are rarely even grateful. And even if they're grateful, they're usually not giving back. And so what are you getting from this guy? Is he back? But then it's like, okay, did you just come back? We had this great conversation and now I haven't heard from you for 2 days. Screw you, dude. Like, bye-bye. This is the stuff you gotta just be like, what a loser. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's blunt, but it's like, dude, you came back and you said all this stuff and then you ghost again, or you're Mr. Unavailable, or you're too freaking busy. It's not attractive. And you know what? go ahead and say that. Be like, you know what? I had a really nice conversation with you, but I got to say this mode that you're in, it's not really attractive to me. So I'm looking for somebody a little bit different, but hey, it was great catching up with you and I wish you the best. Cut that shit out. Like, get rid of this guy. He's not worth it. Let me tell you, take it from a girl who spent way too much I have done the legwork for you. I have spent the time. I've had the conversations. I've had all the faith. I've put my heart in there. And it was never a good idea. It was always a bad idea. Always. Anytime I was giving and giving and giving and getting nothing in return, it was always a bad idea. And I would make excuses for it. And a lot of times I didn't even realize I was doing it. So if he comes back in your life, I'm just finishing out the final flavor, the convince me, the skeptic. Like, is he coming back into your life, but then he's still unsure? I don't know. Do you really believe in love? Do you think this could work? It's like, okay, you're a little boy and you got like, what are the pull-ups? You still got pull-ups on. You need to grow into your big boy underwear and act like an actual adult. And don't be afraid to say, you know, I see that you're still skeptical about a lot of things. And unfortunately, those aren't things that you can work through in a relationship. Those are things that you're going to have to work out on your own. And, I'm sorry, but I'm not your best resource. So if you're still skeptical, it's just going to take too much energy from me. And I'm just not available for that. Call it out if you can, or the best way, observe it. Because you'll get an argument. Well, I'm not skeptical. Well, I don't mean it like that. Then he'll work you for a different kind of gumball. So then maybe he goes from the skeptic to, wow, you've become bitter. When did you become bitter? Then he becomes fight me gumball guy. So if I'm going to have this pretend argument, be like, no, I'm not bitter. So now you're trying to pick a fight with me. I'm just saying, I don't want to try to convince you of your skepticism. And then he could say, then a lot of times these guys will get meaner and meaner and meaner because they want the gumball. They want the girl that's like, oh yeah, la, la, la. He wants the googly eyes. And when he's not getting it, that's when he's going to shift to, okay, well, now I'm going to pick a fight with you. Or now I'm going to play up what's going on in my life and why you need to feel more sorry for me. Or I'm going to zing you with, well, that's okay because I've actually been talking to my ex and I didn't really think anything was there. But, after talking to you, I may decide to reconnect with her or whatever. It's like it's almost like they'll reveal that, oh yeah, there's somebody else anyway. Just to make, so then you're like, hey, you know what? Thanks for reuniting. I'm really glad you reached out to, so we could go to lunch and then I could feel like crap. But that's what these guys will do. So when people are like, what does it mean when he comes back? I don't know. What does it mean? What is he doing? What is he saying? What's going on? What was happening before? And lastly, what was happening before and what did he do about what was happening before? And if a guy comes back and he's changed, it's kind of like somebody that shows up and they were totally out of shape and they were eating fast food every single day. And they show up in front of you and they say, I've really changed and I'm so much better now. But they don't have stronger muscles. They didn't lose any weight and they're still eating fast food. And you're like, okay. So what changed? And they're like, I'm taking this vitamin and it's supposed to be really amazing. Okay. So, we've all been there where we thought like this one vitamin would like really change everything. And so, like, okay, this is not somebody who's actually changed. You would see the difference in their skin. You would see their vitality. You'd see their posture change. You would see their skin glowing. You would see that their eating habits had changed. They would be talking about where they went to the gym. When change is real, there's evidence and it shows. So if he's coming back and he's just telling you a different story, but nothing actually substantial changed, then there's nothing there. Okay. So I want you to evaluate, what does he want? What did he want? Like, how did he reach out? How he reaches out initially is a really big sign of the kind of guy he is. Then what does he mean? Is he ready? And what is he ready for? How is he living? What's going on? What are his intentions? How does he speak to you? Does he have genuine curiosity and interest? And he might be able to show those things initially. So you have to take this step by step. If you like what you see, if it sounds good, there's a good story, there's evidence, and there were not really bad, horrible sins, so to speak, that he committed against you in the relationship, like cheating or lying or manipulating, you're going to have to evaluate it, because you can argue with it all day long. You could argue with me, yeah, but Melissa, this and that. And you can win the argument, but you're going to have to live with him every day. I don't have to live with him every day, but you do. So what does that mean for you? And is this guy worth it? When you look at like, okay. So like I told you guys in a previous episode, when Ian came back, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my unicorn. So I really have no time to have my lifestyle, my mindset, my trajectory interrupted. So what can I say to him, and what can I find out that will help me make a quick exit if I need to? And so I did. I tested it. I asked him key questions. I was very direct, but I wasn't like, so I didn't grill him. I would just say things that were genuinely how I felt about things. And I just kept getting positive responses. And I would stare at my phone and be like, oh my God, okay, I didn't think I was going to get that response. But I really started to realize our compatibility. And I wasn't willing to settle or bend in certain areas. It was like, I need XYZ and 1, 2, 3. And if you don't have it, you're cute and you're smart and you're all the things, as he and I say all the time. But I knew that I had to be strong, because honestly, I think about you guys. I would always think about any guy I was with and be like, you know what? There is some girl out there waiting for Melissa to make the right decision. And I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to get tangled up in some gumball guy, because then I'm no longer leading by example. And so as I got stronger and stronger in creating this content, I would keep thinking about you over and over and over again. And that's what gave me so much inspiration to make the right decisions. And I think about my little sister, Kayla, and I think about the kids I taught Sunday school. I think about the girls I coached in cheerleading. I think about all the kids in my life. Like I want to lead by example. I didn't want them to see me make choices for myself that showed I didn't love who I was. And so is choosing him, is allowing him back in your life, can you still do all the things that you'd normally do with him in your life? And if you're like, I remember guys would come back in my life and I'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. And before I went to New York, I did ballroom dancing, and I quit ballroom dancing for the last Gumball Guy that broke my heart. Because I could tell he would come and watch me dance, and I was like, you don't like when I dance, do you? And he was like, not really. And he would just make it really uncomfortable. And so I let that part of my lifestyle go. And sadly, I didn't question it all that much, because I was so excited to have him back in my life. I didn't realize what kind of a sacrifice I was making. And so I want you to just take a moment. If he comes back, how does that make you feel about everything you're doing in your life? Do you feel like you have to stop something? Do you feel like, oh, I feel afraid to make plans with somebody else now? I feel like I have to always give him first priority, or I'm afraid he's going to lose interest. These are all those things that when people say, I want to meet the right guy, I want to see the red flags, these are the red flags that I'm talking about, where when you feel like you're sacrificing, when you feel like he's not really paying attention, when you feel like he's in your life, but all of a sudden he thinks he can show up and say all these things and get sexy immediately because he tells you you're beautiful and oh my gosh, I can't believe how sexy you are and I forgot how attracted I am. It's like, you can't just have, oh yeah, I forgot about that girl. I'm going to call her and I'm going to tell her all the things and then just waltz into her life like I have a VIP access. My therapist told me this a couple years ago. He was like, treat your life as if it is a membership. And are you giving people access? Are you giving VIP access to people that don't want it? So that was me telling stories or talking to people that really weren't interested or asking. And then I'd get my feelings hurt that they would, they would glaze over. Or am I giving access? I'm giving too much access to someone who doesn't deserve it, who hasn't earned it, and who's just kind of taking advantage and not really appreciating, not really investing. So that's also, I'll leave you on this. What does he invest in now? What does he want to invest into your life? And all of this really depends on how the relationship was prior, why you broke up, when he comes into your life, how he reveals his intentions. And also, you can just give this time. When Ian came back to my life, I didn't say, what are your intentions? I just observed him. I wanted it to be as hands off as possible. I wanted to see who he was without me saying what I expected him to be, because I wanted to just see what he would do without me saying anything. That way, you're going to show me who you are. And like Maya Angelou says, when you show me who you are, I believe you the first time. So that's where I wanted to get the most authentic version. I wanted to just really see who he was. And as I got to know him better and better, but I did take my time. And because we were long distance, it was all over the phone and via text. But we really got to know each other. So for those of you that are long distance, you can have a committed relationship long distance. You can show up for each other every day and care about each other every day and share your lives. And if you were separated by COVID, and people were like, how do I meet someone in COVID? It's like high quality people are still out there and they will communicate in a respectful way. And it doesn't matter if you're long distance, it can still work. And it does still work when you have two committed people. It's when you don't have committed people. It's when you have somebody that wants a gumball all the time and we're not understanding how to manage that. So if you are in a position where you're like, okay, because this is a lot to take in. And when I was working with my client, we're going through, I'm doing this 4-part coaching session right now, or 4-part, and it might even say 3 sessions on my package, but it's $697 for 4 hours of coaching, going through the quiz, diagnosing your gumball guy, understanding the red flags, what you missed, what you can look for in the future, and also when I will give you early access to the quiz that we're creating behind the scenes. We have a beta version right now. And not only will you be able to see, oh, he's a pity me guy, but what's the second flavor he likes? What's the third? How does it show up? How does it manifest? And if you want a sneak peek, I created a workbook. Go to gumballlove.com or click the link in my bio on Instagram and get the workbook. This will give you a snapshot of what these flavors are like. I tell a little bit of my story, what is Gumball Love come from. It's this beautiful workbook that my girl April, who manages our social media for Gumball Love, she put this gorgeous, I actually did create it in Canva with a template, but then she was like, oh, that's nice, Melissa, let me make it beautiful. And she did. It looks so good. So download the beautiful workbook, look at the 8 flavors, use it as your guide. More is coming. But if you want to really invest in yourself, and I really encourage you to think about, okay, what is roughly $700? And if you need a couple of payments, just let me know. If money is what's holding you back and you need to break it up, I'm happy to do that for you. I was always the queen of the payment plan. There is no shame. There is no shame in your situation. I don't care if you're a hot mess express. That's what I do. I help you in your hot mess, and I help you take the shame away, because I'm not going to be like, oh God, that's terrible. I can't believe you're doing that. Like, no, I've done all those things. I've been there and I've gotten out. And I got out and I figured out how to be happily single. And I'm actually more proud of that than I am in finding my relationship, because that was super hard to master being happily single. And I actually did it to the point where I was like, I don't know if I want to meet somebody, because this is good. I mean, I had a great single life, so I can help you enjoy that. And then when you meet the right guy, I can also even give you a little bit of an edge of what I wish I would have done. And I've done some podcasts on this too, but we can get really in depth, because I'm not talking to you directly one-on-one on video, but I would love to do that so you and I can get to know each other. And please do not think of me as a celebrity. I am not. I'm just your girl here, and I want to help you. I love seeing these transformations. The clients I'm working with right now, I'm going way over on time. Sometimes I'm like, if you're willing to spend some extra time, if you really want like the red carpet treatment, I'm testing out the quiz, and I'm making really sure that it's right. And it's just exhilarating, because I'm seeing light bulbs go on so much faster. Because look, when you coach or you go to therapy, you got to tell all these stories that try to give them perspective, so then they can step back and analyze and help you. I don't have to hear near the stories now. We can start with the flavors of attention. We can start with, okay, this combination would lead me to believe that this is what you're dealing with. And I didn't know if I was going to get head nods like, yeah, that's exactly right, or no, that's not. But I'm getting the head nods. So it's telling me that the research and the way we have put the quiz together is giving the results that are super effective. And it's making this process expedited even more, because now Gumball Love isn't just this grand concept you have to learn. It's customized to you, and it's customized to the type of guy you're with. Or you can take it for, my last client took the quiz 3 different times for 3 different guys. She's like, this guy I dated a month, this guy I dated for a couple of years, this guy I dated for 6 months. And then we look at those results and then help her kind of work through what happened. And she's sitting there like, oh, I get it now. Like, now she can see this is what was going on, and I couldn't have done anything more. It's like, it's so liberating to know, oh yeah, okay, I'm not missing out. Like, that relationship is now resolved. Hallelujah. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift. It's a gift that Gumball Love gave to me. Even though I created this concept, I would sit there in the library and doing research and writing. And I would just be like, oh my God, I feel so liberated. I've got to help other people. So I would love to coach you one-on-one. Message me, melissa@gumballlove.com. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. You can join our private Facebook community as well. So what if he comes back? That's the title of this show. And I hope that this helped you really iron out and look at all the different angles of when he comes back. How do you handle it? What do you do? What do you look for? What do you ask? And how to make the best decision so you don't waste time on another Mr. Wrong. All right, my love, I will see you next time. Until then, talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballllove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best compliment you can give. Remember, you are enough, you are right where you should be, and the only thing you have to do is keep going. I'll leave you with my favorite quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. Until next time, I'll see you soon.